And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're going to take a look at another abstract from Miranda Enterprises. We're going to take a look at Settrio, which is a dice rolling and tile placement game of luck and logic. Which is what it says on the box. But this is a game in which you're going to roll a die, which will dictate where you can play tiles from your hand and kind of what tiles you can play from your hand out on the table. And the first player to get rid of all of their tiles is going to be the winner. So real quick, now that you've got that introduction, let's take a look at what you get inside the box and how the game plays, and then I'll come back here and give you my final opinions on the game as a whole. So here you can see the components for Settrio, and basically this is going to be a tile laying game that looks a lot like Ingenious but plays very differently. And you're going to have these tiles. We'll see that there's one in the center of the table, and you'll always start with one in the center of the table. You'll have a bag full of Settrio tiles, and you're going to start with a hand of 5 tiles that are going to have various combinations of shapes and colors on them. Circle, hexagons, and stars, or red, yellow, and blue in different combinations. Now what you're going to do is on your turn you're going to roll this die, and you're going to get a color or a shape. All of the different colors and shapes are represented on this die. I got blue, but maybe I got a hexagon. So I have a hexagon, and this means that I have to play next to a hexagon that's already on the board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look, and I see there's obviously only one hexagon. Now, in order to play, I have to play so that something creates a line of exactly 3. So you'll see here, this is a line of exactly 3. If I were to play, let's say that tile is already out there, and I were to play here somehow, I can't do this because it creates a line of 4. Anything that creates a line of 4 will not be allowed. So you have to be very careful spatially to place your tiles so that you make lines of 3. In addition, when I play to the table, I have to play so that I'm touching at least one hexagon, and there are only 3 different types of sets of 3 that are allowed. And these different sets are going to be, 1, they can share all the same color, but not all the same shape. So, for example, I could have one that shares all the same color if I played out like this. I have a hexagon, a circle, and a star, all in yellow, but none of the same shape. This is an allowed play. In addition, I could have all of the same shape, but not all of the same color. I don't have an example of a tile like this in my hand, but for example, I could have 3 hexagons if I were to be able to do that. The final different one I can do is where nothing is alike. So for example, I could play this blue circle and this red star with my yellow hexagon, and none of these are the same. So all 3 different shapes and all 3 different colors. That is a possible combination. If you can play a tile to the table like I just did, you're going to make your hand size smaller by 1 tile. And your opponent will go, they will roll the die, and they will have to place this time against or next to a hexagon as well. So they have a narrowed range of where they can play, because obviously they can't make rows of 4, so they need to play off this direction. Or they can play off this way. And when they do so, they will obviously pass the turn to the next player, who's going to go ahead and roll in place. But if you ever can't place, you're going to have to draw a tile from the bag, making your hand size larger. Now, you can obviously tell from this mechanic that the goal is to be the first player out of tiles. And if you are the first player out of tiles by placing appropriately, making these different sets, you are going to be the winner. And that is Settrio, a pretty simple little game. You roll that die. If you can place a tile, you can place a tile. Now, seeing the patterns that you can place is not always that easy. It's sometimes difficult to see where a piece can go out on the board. You may have a play, but you may not be able to find it. And it takes a little bit of time to look around, check out all your options of all your different tiles and see if you can place something. Sometimes you miss the fact that it creates a row of 4. Sometimes you miss the fact that there's 2 different colors in something. But all in all, it's a pretty decent little game. I enjoy it, but I think it runs a little bit too long for my taste, and that's my real criticism of it. It's got great components. The gameplay is interesting, but it kind of drags on a little bit. Maybe a little bit longer than I feel it should, and I know it's supposed to be a short game, but I think with some unlucky rolls where you're rolling a either color or a shape where you can't play, the game can kind of stagnate a little bit where you draw more tiles. Now that's not to say I don't like it. I definitely do. I think it's fun and interesting. But if I were to make a criticism, I would say it's that luck element that kind of drags the game out a little bit too much sometimes. So overall, a pretty good game. Check it out from Miranda Enterprises, Settrio.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.